Hello from the Badger Rock Urban Farm. We are out here for the first in our summer virtual workshop series. Welcome to one of the most beautiful times of year in the garden. Every Sunday, every other Sunday, starting on June 22nd, we'll be having a market here from 1 to 5 p.m. So if you're interested in coming to our in-person workshops, we'll be having a workshop at every market that will highlight a seasonal recipe. We'll come out in the garden, harvest something that's in season, bring it up to the kitchen and make a seasonal recipe, as well as harvesting something from the garden that could be used as an herbal medicine and making an herbal preparation in the kitchen as well. So come on out to those workshops in person. And if you miss them in person, we'll be doing them virtually too. So today is our first virtual workshop. We're going to be highlighting an herbal preparation called an Herbal Salve. That's really a healing preparation for your skin that is made with a base of olive oil and beeswax, and then a bunch of medicinal plants that are great for skincare. So come on into the garden with me and we'll do a little foraging, what we have. So we're going to start with our climbing rose. We planted this for the rose hips that it will give us in the fall, which is you can make into a tea that's really high in vitamin C and can help give your immune system a boost for those winter season coming after the fall. But rose petals are also really great for your skin. If you've ever bought herbal products for your skin, you'll often see rose essential oil or rose in them. That's because it's got an astringent quality, which is kind of tightening and toning for your skin. And oh my gosh, if you like the smell of rose petals, it also adds a little piece of heaven to your salve. So I'm just going to harvest a couple of these roses for the petals, and those petals are what is going to go in our salve. All right, so we got a few rose petals here. We're just making a small batch of salve for today to demo how to do it. But if you are making a larger batch, you'd need more roses. Let's head on into our food forest over here. This is our food forest. It looks like a mess, but really it's planted to mimic nature. So there's a canopy layer of fruit trees. Here's an Asian pear right here. A shrub layer. Here's a gummy berry right here. An understory layer of ground cover. We have wild strawberries down here. And all the plants in here are either food or medicine plants or attract good pollinators and insects that are great for your garden, or add nitrogen to the soil. So come on in a little further and we will check out this plant that I am looking for, that is one of the best skin healing plants on this planet. This is comfrey. So comfrey has a few lookalikes. So another thing when you're harvesting herbs, a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, you don't want to over harvest. I never pick more than a third of a stand of plants so that I don't deplete it. The goal is not to take more than you need. The goal is just to take what you need, give thanks to the plants for providing care to us, and also don't pick plants that are endangered. So if you go to United Plant Savers, that's a website that tells you all about which plants really are endangered or have been over harvested by foragers, and we really should at this point leave alone and maybe cultivate your own instead. But comfrey grows wild and crazy. Once you plant it, you will have comfrey forevermore. Watch out, it spreads. But this plant is a great medicine for your skin. It is also a great internal medicine for healing, but you will hear that it is dangerous for your liver. Whether that is true is a question mark. There are a couple questionable studies on it. It used to be used for healing ulcers because it's really great at healing wounds on your skin. But it heals wounds also from the inside out. So you want it. This is a great one for deep wounds too. And the part that's the medicine is the sap inside. The root is actually the most powerful part, but we're going to leave the root alone because that's the part that has the alkaloids in it that may or may not be implicated in causing some damage to your liver. So comfrey leaf is great for cuts and scrapes and wounds that need to heal. So I'm just going to take some of these leaves. It has a really unique flower. If you look at this, they almost look like little purple bells. And so make sure when you're finding this plant that you have some identifying characteristics to look for. It looks a lot like mullein also, So, you know, it looks, like I said, there's some lookalikes. So if you're just learning herbal medicine and foraging for the first time, go out with someone who knows for sure and walk around with people who know for sure for a long time until you are familiar enough with these plants that it's like recognizing your neighbors. You're like, oh, hey, Comfrey, how you doing? I've known you a long time. Let's get together and make some medicine. So I'm just going to take some leaves and say thank you to the Comfrey for offering up their medicine to us. And we're going to head on out to the next. Salves can be very simple too. You don't need to put a whole lot of stuff in them. And depending on what you are making them for too, can determine what kind of plants that you want to use. So if we come on down here on the ground, there's this beautiful little plant that we step on all the time that is everywhere once you start to recognize it. And it's like really subtle. You might not notice it. Look at these flowers. These are the flowers. They're not showy. They don't have beautiful petals. They don't smell good, nothing like that. That's because they're wind pollinated. They don't need to attract insects to pollinate them. So they don't have to look fancy or smell good. And it grows in what's called a basal rosette. So you can see the leaves are growing straight out from the base of the plant. And it's got these leaf veins that are parallel to each other. See how the leaf veins are just all going whoop in the same direction? That is called parallel leaf veins. And this plant is called plantain is its common name. Or Plantago lanceolata is its Latin name. And that's because of the lance-shaped leaves. There's another plantain actually right here that's a round leaf plantain that's more of an oblong. That is also plantain. You can see those same leaf veins. So we could take a little bit of that too. This plant has also been called white man's footsteps because it's from Europe. It came over here with the settlers and has traveled west across the country as people traveled west across the country. But it is literally everywhere. Once you start to recognize it, you'll see it. This is my favorite plant for bee stings. If you chew it up so that the juices get out of it, you slap it on a bee sting, the minute you get it, it has a drawing quality. It'll pull that venom right out and your sting will have such a smaller effect on your body than it would otherwise. So this is another kind of astringent like the rose. It's kind of tightening and firming and drawing. Pulls out impurities, venom, all kinds of things from your skin. So this is a great one for that. So that's plantain. Another one that is a great one that I'm going to show you. It's not quite flowering yet, but it's about to flower. And we're going to put some in our salve because it's another just all around amazing skin herb. This one right here. This beautiful little light-leaved beauty. See its little flower buds just about to open. It has a beautiful yellow flower. This is called calendula. If you go to any store and look in the like natural skin preparations area, you will see calendula in pretty much everything. It is the #1 like skin healing go-to herb for cuts and scrapes, but it heals from the outside in. So if you have a deep cut, you want to start with comfrey to heal it from the inside first and then add in your calendula. Because if you heal the top layer of skin, but the wound is still deep, you sometimes will seal it off and it can fester in there. So just think about what kind of wound you're treating to if you're working with calendula. Otherwise, though, it actually encourages skin cells to heal. So any kind of just blemish or cut or scrape on your skin, calendula will lend a hand. So I have some already harvested and dried of that we're going to throw in our salve. And I think we'll keep it at that. Nice and simple. And we're going to head on over. You don't need a lot of fancy equipment to make a salve either. Really what you need are plants. Check. Olive oil. Olive oil is made from olives. It's also a plant that's actually naturally healing for your skin. And then beeswax. We have wax that we harvested from our own beehives that we use for our salve. And that gives it like a lip balm kind of consistency. Because you think of, olive oil is a liquid, right? We throw our plants in there and we cook them up. Then we throw the wax in there. It melts, but then when it cools, it solidifies a little bit. So that beeswax is what gives you kind of a lip balm consistency to your salve. And that is what we're going to be making today. So I'm just going to use some scissors. If you cut up your herbs, the smaller you cut them, the more of the herb is going to be in contact with that oil, and the more of the goodness of the plants is going to come out into your salve. So I'm just cutting up the comfrey, the plantain, the rose that we just found, and pop it in this oil. We'll put a little starter recipe for salve too. You know, you can see that I've made this so many times. I'm more of an eyeball salve maker at this point. But you can use a recipe for the first few times you make it and you'll get a feel. Also, some people like their salve firmer than other people. Some people like it softer. So you can adjust the amount of oil and wax you put in there to make it firmer or softer to your taste. All right. So this is looking beautiful already. Look at this. There's beautiful plants in here. So we're going to turn on the heat. And ideally when you make a salve, the longer you can cook it on a low heat, the better. It's just going to draw out those qualities of the plants. If you want to make a really strong infused oil first, you can take a jar, pack it with the plants that you want to use, and fill it with olive oil and let it sit in a sunny spot for about a month. And that oil will pull all that good stuff out of the plants, and then you can just strain the plants out and use the straight oil for your salve. That's called an infused oil. And that calendula that I showed you all that was just about to bloom, even though it's not blooming yet, you can dry the petals of it really easily and then have them to use any time of year. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of calendula in there too, because I can't make a salve without calendula and feel okay about it. So we're going to throw some in there. All right. So I'm just going to heat up this oil with the plants in it. You do not want your oil to boil. If it does, it's going to start going off. So once your oil starts bubbling, turn down the heat or take it off the heat to let it cool down a little bit so that you don't end up with rancid oil. And this is our beeswax. I'm just going to throw, ooh, this beeswax is melting just sitting here in the sun. Usually you can't just kind of smoosh it like this, but we're in luck today. You can also, if you don't have bees, the next best thing is to have a friend with bees. And if you don't have a friend with bees, the next best thing is you can go to a hardware store and find beeswax, or a craft store is another place you can find beeswax. And that is wax that the bees actually make. They have a wax gland on their bodies. They make their own wax. If you want to throw some other things in there that are just really nice for your skin, you can throw in some cocoa butter. Oh, I love the smell of cocoa butter. You can also throw in some shea butter. You could throw in some jojoba oil, different kinds of oils and oil preparations that are just also really healing for your skin. And then you're just going to cook it. You're going to be stirring it constantly until that wax melts. And once that wax melts, we will be in business. So when you make your salve, your plants are not necessarily going to stay in there. What we're going to do once the wax melts and the oil is all nice and infused is we're going to pour it through a little colander, and I use some cheesecloth just to give it a little extra filtering, so that you don't end up with any plant in your actual oil. What you'll end up coming out through the bottom is an oil that's infused with all the good stuff from the plants. All right, so we're going to just let this simmer for a little bit, and we will take a little break while this is cooking and tune you back in when we're ready for the next step. All right, we are back, and if you want to come over here and look at this little salve in action, you can see that the beeswax is totally melted. There's no solid wax left in there. The shea butter and the cocoa butter are all melted. All this left is liquid in plants. And so the next step once you get here is to pour this oil through a sieve of some kind to get those plants out of there. And then I usually press, I usually make a little tea bag with the cheesecloth over the herbs and press on it with the back of the spoon to get as much of that infused oil out of there as possible. And then you can set this to the side, and it looks just like olive oil, but you can pour it into a little container. You can get salve containers online or at craft stores, or you can buy little paint containers. For putting little bits of watercolor paint. That's a cheap and affordable, easy to find option too for salve containers. And then we're just going to let it cool. And when it cools down, it is going to look like lip balm. That beeswax is going to solidify on up, and you're going to have an herbal product that you can use just like lip balm. You can scoop it out with your finger, put it on whichever part of your skin you're wanting to treat or your lips, and you will have a homemade, beautiful herbal product that is healing for your skin that you can use all year round with the beautiful bounty that Mother Nature provides us for making our own medicine from our own gardens, forests, fields. Foraging is really an amazing thing to know how to do. It really taps in, I feel like, to our deeper, all of us, if you go far enough back in our heritage, we have stories of people growing, foraging, procuring food in so many different ways. We can take care of ourselves. So this is just our first little demo on one way to do it, and we hope y'all enjoyed it. Let us know what you thought if you make it at home, or if you have a different way you like to make salve, pop it in the comments. We'd love to hear it, and we will see you all next time.